Hey, we're just waiting to see if anybody's out there. Hello. We're back.
We'll get let a few people get on board, and then we'll start our mindless chatter.
Yeah.
So we start talking about important stuff.
See what happens.
Hey, Melinda.
Oh dear.
Jennifer.
Hey. Glad to see y'all. Okay. Let's go ahead.
Woodrow. I love that
Okay.
name. That was my grandfather's name.
I had an uncle by that name.
I guess it used to be pretty
A great
popular.
uncle.
I guess they were naming people after Woodrow Wilson.
Maybe.
Because I think my grandfather was born in 1913.
Painting.
So that would have been about the time that Woodrow Wilson was a prominent person.
Could very well be. Jamie was named after the $6 million woman, on the other hand.
Really?
I was very young. Very young.
Well, I think my mother named me Kim after the actress Kim Novak.
Well, see, everybody and their brother named their daughter that, and everybody named their kid Jamie. I thought I was being so original. There was 3 in the hospital at the same time in this little town. And then Dusty came along at the time of Kramer versus Kramer with Dustin Hoffman. So it's not
Okay.
sad. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. So I had a really good name for Dylan picked out, but I can't remember what it was now. I swear I cannot. It's an old Scottish name, and that would be appropriate. Cannot remember it. So they probably wouldn't have, or actually they rejected it, and I thought they're young. We'll have to go with the young person name. So I named him. They let me name him Dylan, and that's supposed to be a lucky name. And I thought he's going to need luck in this life, so I named him Dylan. And yeah, that carries vibration. Here we go. I think we're starting.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because I had a meeting this morning before I came here, a real estate kind of thing, and I kept calling one of the guys in the meeting by the wrong name. His name was Elijah, and I kept saying, no, his name was Ethan, and I kept saying Elijah. And later I thought, why did I do that? And I thought, I wonder if, that I was picking up on something else. And we found out that we have this the same surname in our background. He's a Poole, and I have, Poole lineage as well. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting.
That's actually funny because I've had that name come up too. Okay, well, you can go ahead and start.
Okay, hello everybody. This is Metaphysical Matters with Angela Moore. I'm Kim Clark, and our main subject today is going to be walk-ins. We'll get to that here in just a few minutes. We'll get some more folks on board. But we thought we'd start out by talking about just how this week has been so far, and if you all are like us, and we've been comparing notes while we've been getting ready, it's been energetically a really hectic week, and not really hectic in a good way. It's just been very erratic. So what's been going on with you? What are your reflections about the energy this week?
Well, first of all, I've been in a major panic because I thought I was getting a bald spot, or I just outright going bald. I'm not real sure. And I meant to ask you, please tell me you do not see skin right here?
No.
I hope it's where it's just white, but I'm not
good.
in the bathroom, and I'm seeing the light come down where my white hair is, and I see skin. And I have been in a modified stationary panic the rest of the week because I've done getting a few wrinkles. I've done gotten horribly, hideously obese. I cannot be going bald on top of all that.
I got obsessed after I watched our video from last week, and I've been over and I was laughing at something, and I thought, oh my gosh, I got a bald spot on top of my head.
That is bizarre. That is freaking bizarre. We're going bald together.
We're going
Friends to the end.
going crazy together.
That is just sad. And then we've been renovating around. Well, not renovating. Our renovating has been painting. We've been painting. We, meaning James, has been painting, and he's been painting the kitchen, and it's now gray, and I kind of like it, and I kind of hate it, but I felt like I needed to calm it down because it was so bright before. But I'm going to paint some flowers and stuff on there to make it look like me, and it's like, taking 2 steps forward and 1 back, it's just like not really, we're working hard as hard can be, and it seems like we're getting stuff done, but it's like working in slow motion or something. That's it. It's just been like that kind of week. It's been an erratic kind of week.
Well, now astrologically speaking, and I know you're not an astrologer, you always preface everything with that, but right now, today, the day that we're recording this is 8/8, which is astrologically, that's Lionsgate, because it takes place in Leo, and it's an alignment of the planet Earth with Sirius. And that is supposedly, and I certainly am not an astrologer either, it's just what I've read, has brought in an influx of energy. And what I have experienced this week is an intense surge of energy, is actually what I read. But everything's been very erratic this week. My cat has been sick, and I've had to go hither and yon, like crazy appointments, and the things that I needed to get done this week I haven't been able to turn my attention to. It's just been chaotic. Are you picking that up with?
That's exactly what I'm picking up.
Okay.
Yesterday I went to the movies and hid for like 2 hours. It's like I needed to literally go. Felt like I needed to find a little hidey hole and just let go. And I'm glad somebody got some good news. Hopefully that's going to help his finances, because what I'm feeling too is maybe for a lot of people there could be a turnaround, a step up maybe in some people's money situation. I don't promise anything, but I do feel that there is change afoot, which could be a change slightly for the better maybe for a lot of people, security-wise. That's what I'm looking for. And I will tell you that I fully expect people to be being very dramatic. That's going to continue for a little while longer. You do need, I'm sorry to say this, but you do need to watch your back out in public if you're, especially in the city, for probably, and I guess at time, but I'm thinking 6 weeks or so, because it's just that kind of energy that can make people act now, think later, and you know that's not what's the best kind of energy.
Do you think this is partially what kind of pushed these?
I'm sure it would help.
Shooters over the edge over the last week or so?
I think they were already on the edge, leaning forward and ready to step, but I'm sure it didn't help one bit. I feel like people are going to take advantage of whatever energy's there, and I think if we'd had a calmer, nicer, a little more loving energy, some people might not have been pushed right on over by their own agenda, whatever that might be.
So Melinda's had a really wonderful week, and everything's going very smoothly. So
that's good. You're on the good side of that strong energy, and so that's great. It don't have. When I say a lot of energy, don't necessarily mean bad. Like I just said, you could actually. Some people might see an improvement in finances and stuff like that. And actually, romance is highly favored if you're in the zone for romance. But at the same time, I'm just going to tell you, there could be a lot of drama. That doesn't mean it's bad. Sometimes drama is a good thing, depending on which way you're looking at it. But I'm not going to take back when I say, too, that, while some people get a surge energy and they bounce, it's awesome. You're bouncing all over. It's great. Some people get a surge energy and they go back. Crap, so you want to be careful. Do what you want, though. What do I know? Everybody's different. Everybody's path is uniquely theirs. So I'm just speaking in very general terms. And, by the way, we're going to talk about something else, but I was just thinking, you were asking me about what was going on with, straightening up the house and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Our little ghostie has been acting up lately. My friend was over here, actually my ex-husband was over here the other day, and he's feeling somebody tapping him on the back in there, and my current husband was sitting in there at the recliner too, and he's like hearing somebody, James, right there, and wasn't me. So every time, it seems like for a lot of people that you make a lot of changes, and this is a dramatic change too in here, by the way, in my kitchen right now, or will be. People, anything that you have that spiritual nature will get stirred up. It's like it just creates like like you drop a rock in water. It makes a big splash, and everything gets kind of stirred up and gets going around. And again, it doesn't mean it's bad, but it can be sometimes disconcerting.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought I'd throw that in there for no reason. So how was your week?
Well, it's like I was telling you, everything has been pretty erratic. One thing I wanted to ask you, just a broader question. I'm seeing some people who are commenting that this has been a great week, but they've had sudden changes, so the energy is very changeable. This is what happened to me this week, and I almost felt like I was under psychic attack, or it could just be this erratic energy. I was driving up to Hendersonville to go to the dentist. While I'm driving up the road, something flew in out of the car window and went into my eye and became so painful and irritating that I had to stop at the first place I could and get some eye wash and wash my eye out. Okay, I had to do that twice before it settled down. Okay, so I did that. On the way home, I stopped at the grocery store And I've never had this happen to me, I don't think. I got almost through with my shopping, and somebody made off with my cart. And I had to start over.
How bizarre.
Then, when I got home with my groceries, one whole bag of groceries didn't even make it into the car. And it was just like one thing after the other. And this is laid on top of my cat being sick, and I'm like, what the heck? Who's got it in for me? So what do you say when somebody's having a quote unquote a run of bad luck, be it a day or a week or whatever?
It'll end. I mean, that's it. That's the best I can tell you. It doesn't last forever.
But what is that reflecting? Anything?
I think sometimes it's just, I don't know, it's just too much energy. It's almost like that game Sorry, where you take step, then you hit a slide. And a lot of times that slide is good. It's like a lot of good things happen at once. And then sometimes that slide is a lot of crap happens at once. So I think this is life. This is the way it goes. And sometimes it's going to be obvious lessons. There's always a lesson. Sometimes it'll be learned here. Sometimes it'll be obvious. And maybe the universe is saying, watch where you're going. Be mindful of what you're doing. You got hit in the eye, so that would say you want to be watchful. Then your stuff is stolen, so you want to be watchful. So you might want to, the universe might be like slapping you in the face saying, hey, watch what you're doing. Be careful. Keep a lookout, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And it's funny, though, because you're complaining with your eye, and James started complaining with his. It's like I've noticed a lot of times when things go physically weird with you, he'll have the same stuff.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I think you and he are cut from the same cloth.
But we're both Aquarians, so that's kind of interesting. Okay, let's get to the meat of this thing. Walk-ins. First of all, what is your definition of a walk-in?
Okay. Again, I don't know anything. It's just the way I see it.
And we all know better. But we'll play along with her.
Okay, thank you. Let's say there is a soul that needs to come to Earth to do whatever people do here to learn to be human. And but this soul has been around the block many times as a child. It doesn't need lessons of youth and childhood. It doesn't need that, right? So there's another soul, a friend, a partner, has an agreement maybe that says, I need the lessons of childhood. I've lived to be old. I've done old people stuff, but I need to know what it is to be a child or to be young or to whatever. So here's what you can do. You can, let's say, make an agreement, and you decide, okay, I am going to go to this body, and I will live this body, and I will learn all the lessons of youth. And then this one, when I'm done, I'll depart, and then you come down and you take over. Same body, nothing wrong. Nobody else will, I won't even know the difference. I will just know that I feel different. Things have changed, and I'll get a little bit more about that. But here's my analogy, okay? Because I work best if I do analogies, as you know. Let's just say that there is a little cartoon car, okay? Because I like cartoons. And this little cartoon car has got to go from New York to LA, let's say. And it's going, on its journey, and it's staying on its path. Everything is like it's supposed to, and it gets to the Mississippi, and it parks under a bridge, okay, because it's got to get to sleep. And then it wakes up the next morning, and it's get ready to go on to Los Angeles. The path it's on has not changed. Nothing has changed, but yet it feels different. Somehow it's going a little bit jaunier. Maybe it's going a little bit more this or that way. It's a little bit different, but it's the same car, same path, but yet somehow it just doesn't feel the same because it's doing stuff it wasn't doing before. Maybe that's because it has a different driver. And when it was sleeping, the old driver left and the new driver stepped in because the new driver didn't need any of that East Coast stuff, and now the new driver needs to get all that West Coast stuff. I don't think I said that right, but you get my drift. So there is a change of driver, and that driver represents the soul, okay? So that's just one way of looking at it. But to people around them, they might think, well, that little car, I never knew it to drive like that, or the passenger in the car might thought, I didn't know that we could drive this way either. So, other people will sometimes be affected, yes, because maybe somebody's wife one day wakes up and says, I am different and I have to completely destroy my life and start another one. We have both been there and done that. And, it's because, and I'm not saying we're walk-ins, but maybe we are. I think I am, to be honest. Sometimes people I've seen this before will even go so far as to change their name. And they don't always destroy their life, but maybe they find new purpose in life. Maybe they find new calling in life, new talent, new whatever. But anyway, that's just one way of looking at it, and that's what some people like to think of, and that's what I'm telling you. You can think what you want. Also, yeah, I've seen this a couple times. I have seen people who are contraries, this isn't it, who want to do everything backwards or opposite. That would be James, my husband. I'm not taking it back. I do think he's a contrary, where everything he does is going to be somehow different. It's almost like he's seeing the flip side of this world. Okay, set that aside. And yes, I have seen this where I think there's sometimes, very, very rarely, two spirits in one body. I don't know how that works or why. Maybe they had an agreement to share, but yes, I have seen that. And you see it in their eyes. You know, sometimes with schizophrenic people too, it could be they're just simply, you know, have brain disease. But sometimes there may be two souls, especially when you hear about like when one energy's in charge, they're like having diabetes and these ailments, and then when the other soul's in charge, they don't. It is that profound. It's like, how can that even be? But anyway, I think there's a whole lot of stuff out there that I do not understand and do not claim to. I'll just share with you some of the things I have seen and felt and whatnot.
Well, from a lot of the stuff that I have read, it seems like that many times a walk-in, a transition will be brought on after a traumatic event or during a traumatic event, like an accident or something
Yeah,
like that.
that's possible too. In my case, what I have seen more would be an agreement to do it and a personality change, but I don't see why it cannot be triggered by what you said. That was like, we agreed at the time of this profound thing happening in your life, this is when we'll make the switch.
Mm-hmm. So what are, if somebody's out, go ahead.
And it doesn't happen overnight, by the way. In my analogy, it does, but in reality, it could happen like an accident, and it could absolutely be at that point, at that time, when the one soul went on and the other one stepped in. Absolutely could be immediate, but very often it seems like there's a struggle instead. It's like the one is needing to go and the new one's coming in, and there's a back and forth and confusion and whatnot for a long time.
So let's say somebody out there watching right now is wondering if they're a walk-in because their life has changed very much from where they started out. How can you look within and figure it out?
I have told people before that I feel that with them, but I think most of the time, if you have to ask, you probably are. I mean, if you actually have that question that strong in your mind and you're wondering, you probably are. There's nothing to be done about it. It's just, here's just something for you to think about, for your amusement, maybe your edification.
Is there any way of I guess, making sure or getting a little more clear if maybe somebody in your life might be a walk-in? Anything to look for other than just changing their perspective?
Yes, it could happen during amnesia. It could happen at any given time. I think there are people, I've heard a lot of people saying that, you know, it's like the person maybe they were married to, it's like they were all of a sudden married to a stranger, you know, so there's a good reason they felt that.
Okay, now I'm going to start throwing some really wild questions at you.
I'll see your pen a minute.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. You said this to me a long time ago. I think in a reading. We were having some kind of discussion about leaders, world leaders, national leaders, and I think it was during an election time, not any time recently. This has been a while back. And you said, kind of at the end of the conversation, you said, it doesn't matter, but when they get in there, somebody else is going to walk in anyway.
Oh, yeah, I did say that.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts about that?
I think somebody else walked in there anyway.
Is that just what happens?
Yeah, not always. Not at all. I think this was a rare occasion, but at that point, and I was vibing, as I heard someone else call it a while back. And when I'm vibing, I'm pretty much not going to take it back, okay, because I'm not really thinking with my normal mind, which censors and hinders and colors everything. But when I'm kind of in the zone and kind of loose, that's when you can pretty much, depend on what I'm saying, which I'm still human. But anyway, I felt that there was a very intense energy with very negative purpose, not human friendly, let's put it that way, not peaceful, that would step into or attempt to step into a world leader, whichever one it was, and I think from that point, as best they could, start working an agenda that would be for the detriment of mankind. And I'm not going to say which one or when that was, but I did say it at one time, and I stick with it.
It's been a good while back.
I do think that there are a lot of things going on with leaders everywhere, and always has been, that have not always been directed by good, and then sometimes has been directed by energies that would wish harm to humans.
So that explains why many times we go and vote for somebody who seems like a perfectly sane person at that time, and then later, once they get into office, they start to act like a different person.
That'd be 99% of every politician there ever was, too, though, because, people, But anyway, carry on with that. But yeah, that's, sometimes, I think evil can create the desirable effect, that it needs to, in order to get where it needs to be, whether it be in your personal life, or it could be in great, leaders or whatever. I think there's also, anytime you have a rise in evil, you have a rise in good, and rise in good, you have a rise in evil. Don't forget it. It kind of a balancing thing. But yeah, there's always been, I think, things that would take advantage of human nature in whatever way that they can do that.
Okay, that brings up something else that I might want to come back to, but I don't want to get too far off the subject right now. All right, here's another question. Is it possible that one body could be host to several walk-in events in one lifetime?
I have no idea, but I want to say probably so.
In other words, to be a human portal, which you've used that term before.
Yeah.
So there's different entities coming into this body for different periods of time.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know why, but I feel like I want to say that would probably be a rare thing with certain people. But yeah, honestly, why not? I think if you can imagine it, there's probably a reason you can imagine it, because at some level you might know that to be true.
Okay, now here's something really bizarre. And it's about a cross-species walk-in. Okay, then this is going to get weird. And I know y'all are thinking, gosh, she's got some kind of crazy story about everything, but this is true. When I lived in Hendersonville, one day I had a garden, and one day I went out to work in the garden, and I had let some sunflowers come up that the birds had just strewn about. They were giant sunflowers, and I looked up at this one sunflower, and there was a human face in this sunflower, clear as a bell, and the face was one of absolute joy. What I got from that was just like somebody popped in for a look-see, and it was just like, wow, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it's the trick of the light. All right, I'll come back later and it'll be gone. I went off and did something else, and I came back and it was still there. I went and got Ellen and brought her back, and I said, do you see that? And she's like, yes, I do. We stood up there and watched this face for a long time, and then at sundown, he went away.
First of all, I cannot believe you're just now telling me this.
I'm pretty sure
you did not tell me
when we lived
this.
in Hendersonville.
If you had told me that you had a sunflower out there making faces, I would remember it. That is.
It wasn't making faces. It, like I said, it was the face of absolute.
I am mad about it because I want to
joy.
see it. I think that you saw an elemental. I don't think that was a walk-in or a cross-species thing at all. I think that was the spirit of the. All things have spirit. The Bible says that. And for example, if we didn't praise God, the rocks would burst open and do it. Okay, even the rocks have life. So I do believe that. That there are elementals, there are other beings. It's like you could have seen like the face of a fairy for all I know, but I feel like what you saw was the soul of the spirit, and it's not one sunflower, they'd all be one thing. But it kind of reminds me, and I am so jealous about that. And great, I think it's a gift. That is such a gift for you. But when I was a little kid, I remember looking up at sunflowers, and I thought they were like about 12 feet tall because I was very small. Looking back on it now, I guess they weren't quite that big, but it was like looking down at me, and I was afraid of them. I painted them on my door. I love them, but I still have a little tiny fear of them because of the way, it's like it felt like it was looking at me, not to harm me, but I felt it was watching me, looking back at me, and I was just a little child. When you're saying this, I'm wondering, I wonder if maybe I wasn't just afraid of the plant, but maybe I was feeling the life form of that that other type of being as well.
Huh.
But I think that is such a gift, and I'm jealous as I can be. But yeah, I think that there are elementals, that's other kinds of spirits, not human spirits, not demons, just other kinds of spirit, like related to the fairy world. Okay, and I think that again, animals, wild animals, have shared spirit. Like you have the spirit of the horse, the spirit of the buffalo, the spirit of the hawk, whatever. And I think you can have the spirit of the flowers, or the spirit of the, I feel trees. You do too. So, yeah.
Wow, well, that went into a direction I didn't really expect. That's pretty wild. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to ask you about walk-ins. Is there anything else you feel like you want to talk about that? I asked you the questions I had.
One time, I can tell you some more about fairies maybe another time if you remind me. One time.
I'll write that down for the future.
Oh, freaking just going to say.
Walk-ins.
Oh, you and I were somewhere. I don't know what the heck we was doing. It was dark, and it seems like we might have eaten. Because if I go out, I'm usually eating. We were sitting in the car, someplace, some parking lot. I don't even remember now. But I remember feeling like this presence, and I forgot about this just now, and I actually felt like it goes into my body, and I was allowing it because it wanted to kind of look and see through my eyes, through my senses. It was like it was needing to use my body just to kind of look around a little bit. So I think that might have been like a sharing of a spirit, now that I think about it, and I'd forgotten about that. Do you remember that? That was weird. One of the more weird things that had happened. But I do think that sometimes there are those spirits that would like to step in to us, and now mediating. When somebody asks me like about a person that's passed on, I don't allow them to come into my body or rarely. Once in a blue moon, it's almost happened because this is mine, okay? I don't want to give it up, and that's very dangerous. But I allow them to I feel them, and I get their emotions, then I translate it into words that make sense, okay? That's how I do it. So I mediate for them, okay? So that's another kind of, I guess, of a walk-in type situation, shared spirit kind of deal.
So there's a lot of traffic going in and out of our bodies that we're just not aware of.
No, we're aware. You are aware. When you've got that going into your... Now, walk-in, when it's like a soul contract, no, you're not going to... You may be somewhat aware, yes. You may not be aware at all if you're that kind of person. Not everybody is inner-directed as we are. But, yeah, some people, I think... sometimes I think there might be a lot of traffic. I like that word going on. And maybe for certain sensitive people, we are acting as temporary portals and agents that help those that are otherworldly or whatever.
And Sandra's asking
Walk-ins.
Step-ins, walk-ins, same thing.
Yes, you might call it step-in, you might call it walk-in. I don't know that there's any specific term you got to stick with, but you can look it up. Somebody wrote a book about it. I don't know who it is, but you don't need me to tell you to Google it. You'll figure it out.
Well, let me ask you this. Now you've kind of got me off into the weeds a little bit, and talking about maybe spirit coming in and just wanting to look through your perspective. What about, I know we've all had this kind of experience where you have thoughts in your head sometimes that just don't seem like yours. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like all of a sudden you're really angry, and there's really no reason for you to be angry.
Yeah, there is. The reason is your body is trying to not let a spirit come into your body, because you're not supposed to be Grand Central in here, okay? I think there are other spirits that would love to take your body because, it's a good place to live. They'd like to have it too. And they'd like to kick yours out. So your body has natural defenses. That's why, sometimes when we have hauntings, even if it's some common spirit that has no harm intended whatsoever, your body will panic when it gets too close. It will panic, or you might get angry because your natural defenses who guard against such things are going to be activated, and you're going to do that. Now, if you're getting around something like that and you're suddenly feeling really angry and mean, and I've seen it happen to the people, and you have too, Kim, where you can see it in their face changes, their eye color changes. And that is something that's a little bit too close. It can't happen unless people allow it. That some people might be more susceptible to it, and they have to be guarded against it. You guard against it by just saying no, or you don't fool around with paranormal stuff too much. You know what I'm trying to say. Use your common sense. But anytime your body's in a panic like that, or you're feeling these emotions that do not belong to you, and sometimes now I have, as a matter of fact, felt love for somebody one time who I had considered somebody. Basically, I had a grudge against somebody
That's hard to imagine.
Oh, honey. I had a bad grudge against somebody because I felt they had taken something that I loved very much away, and that's not true at all, but it sort of felt true at the time. And then I'm minding my own business, as I frequently do, and I had a sense of love come over me, and I started feeling love towards that person. And I realized, I had to let go of stuff because I was too short, and I actually felt this love come in, and it was good from there on. Somebody's asking about using a Ouija board. Use at your own discretion. Obviously, anytime you do anything with paranormal, you probably are opening doors, but people have been doing it forever, and some people say they get all possessed, but so many millions and millions of people do it without any harm, so use at your own discretion. However, if you feel that you are a little more likely to be affected, just don't. I don't, because I have, and it's, I feel like you're asking common spirits, and you're also inviting maybe dangerous, but more likely nuisance spirits to come in. You're not getting no higher level energy of that. You're not getting higher level energy. I think tarot can be a very useful tool for some people. If you do it the way a lot of people do, you just let that picture, that card kind of tap into your own subconscious mind. It can be a very good tool for some people, and it can help them to, again, access the part of their mind that everybody has. But again, if you ever doing anything like Ouija, tarot, anything, and you start feeling like obsessed about it, like you just got to do it, you can't leave it alone, you're like you just got to, you're just obsessed with it, and it's like you start putting more energy into that than you are anything else, you better get away from it, because that is one of the first stages of possession, and it can happen to people when they're not, if they're distraught or they're not in a really good place. It can really mess a person up. Been there, I've been doing this job, been this way my whole life, been doing this for 27 years. I've seen stuff. Be careful with the things that affect your spirit, or not. Do what you want, but I wouldn't be doing stuff that mess with my spirit, and I don't think you should mess with yours.
Well, if you decided you were going to use the tarot or use a Ouija board, is there any kind of protection that you need to do, or just be healthy?
I think you should always maybe put out a prayer and be surrounded in light. Use your imagination, which I've said 100 times is the bridge from one reality to another. Surround yourself in that. And, if it starts getting dark and you start getting profanities coming in your mind, or all this ugly stuff, put it down, get away from it. But most of the time, it's a pajama party thing with 12-year-old girls, and, my God. Really?
Been there, done that.
I mean, who hadn't? I mean, really? But most of the time, it's what it is. But, I have, actually, a girl that was listening, Shayna, on here a few minutes ago, or was it Blanc? I don't know what name she's going by on there. But anyway, she and I did this before. We had all great stuff going on because she is very psychic, and some people think I am. So we had all grades of interesting stuff coming through.
If it's a Shayna that I know, I'm not sure. Okay, there's a great sense of humor there, and is that not a protection in and of itself?
I don't know. Maybe it could be, but I'm just gonna have to flat out say on that deal, I don't know.
Okay. All right, you had scribbled a little note here about remote viewing. Did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Somebody had emailed me and about that, and I didn't know if we'd have time or not. That's why I didn't want to say it out loud.
Okay.
But last week when we had been talking about, what were we talking about last week?
We talked about out-of-body experiences, and then we got off in
said
ditches
that
a few
somebody
times.
said to me that remote viewing could be part of the out-of-body stuff, and of course I never thought about it while we were talking about it, but absolutely, I think that when you're out of body, that the military and all has used remote viewing, there's been documentation where it was more, the remote viewer people were actually able to see more than the people that were actually right there on the ground. That's documented. So, and they say they're not doing it now. I say, yeah, they're doing it, okay? But I don't know.
It's like they stopped spying on us.
Yeah, I mean, really, well, I think that, you got to use whatever tools you got to stay safe. And I mean, that's what they're doing. You got, it's what people do. Right or wrong, it's what people do, But yeah, I do, sorry not to interrupt, but I do think you're out of your body at times. And you can do the remote viewing, but I also think that, in my case anyway, when I do remote viewing, I am not out of my body. I am here. I am sending that out from my mind, but I am not projecting my spirit out there. I'm just opening a door and looking through it. That's how I do it. And yeah, y'all didn't know I could do that, I bet, did you? I'll tell you what I did one time, if you want to hear it.
Oh, yeah, we want to hear.
One time, I was talking to this many years ago to this girl, and she was in the military or something, and she was looking for a house maybe, and I think it was something like that. And I just kind of opened a door. I don't know how to explain it. And I just go through that door, and it's like all of a sudden I got sucked into this, I don't know, tunnel, but I did not leave my body. It might have looked like it. I didn't. I know what I'm doing. Okay, I didn't. But yet at the same time, my vision is like sucked to this military base. And I felt like then I went into this old guy who was I guess a general or something, because I felt like he had authority, but also was pretty old. I don't know why he would live on the base. Maybe he was just there. But it's like I went through her to him.
Wow.
And then to an alien face. And it looked back at me. And yeah, it was
wow.
I think it was a gray. And it was, and I was back. And like I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that. And this was back when I was doing
wow.
all kinds of interesting things. I don't do anything interesting anymore.
We'll have to see how we can fix that.
Well, maybe. But anyway, that happened. So, for your amusement.
Well, I was trying to remember a while ago when we first got on this subject of remote viewing, and it just popped in my head. If anybody's interested in this kind of stuff and they want to read a little bit, there's a guy named Ingo Swann, I believe is his name, but he was a remote viewer, says he was a remote viewer and worked with the U.S. military or the intelligence services or something, and actually did remote viewing onto other planets as well. It's pretty fascinating stuff. I looked for the book one time, and it was on eBay or something at just an outrageous price, and I just kind of abandoned it.
See, if you can think it, you can be there. If you can think it, that's why you might ask me, Angela, do you do phone sessions? And I say, yes, I do them all over the world. Because if somebody calls me, for example, from Scotland or China even, oh my God. One time I had these people come, if I can find them, if I can think them, if I can hear them, it don't matter where they are, okay? One time I had these people come see me. One of them was, they were Chinese, and I loved them. And the one Chinese lady spoke no English, right? And so she asked me a question about our family or something, I don't know, something going on back home. And my friend that translated asked me, and I gave about like a 2 or 3 paragraph answer because I was trying really hard to be thorough, to give her all the information she needed. She sat there and looked at me very attentively, and then my friend translated 2 words. And the lady said, okay. They were good with that. How could they be good with that? To this day, that just, I said, well, did you not tell her anything? She said, she's good, she's good. I said, I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway, carry on.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one other weird thing about walk-ins, okay? This is one other thing I had about it. Do animals walk in?
I think they might. I've never really thought about it, but I think as far as domestic animals go, I think they might.
Again, I know y'all are like, okay, here comes Kim with another one of her stories. But there was a cat in our neighborhood. It was around for years. Came around the house all the time. You know, I'd throw out a little food, whatever. It seemed unremarkable. As a matter of fact, it's a pretty ugly cat. Came and went. And then one day, he decided he's going to live at my house. No matter what I did, he decided he's moving in. He's coming in. And he came in. And I would try to run him out with the broom, and it was a no-go. He would come right back. All right, I was sitting out on the back porch, or on the back steps, and he came up to me and put his paw on my lap, just very gingerly, like, is this okay? And when he did, it popped in my head. He's remembering stepping on the lap of a little girl, and then I went, oh my gosh, that little girl is me. And I recognized him in that moment as my cat, and I'd already named him. At this point, I'd already decided his name was Fuzzy. And the very first cat I ever had was named Fluffy. And I recognized him as Fluffy. Okay, and still, okay, we're in the realm of, yeah, you got a great imagination. My brother, who does not live around here, who is military, intelligence, no nonsense guy, he came to visit about a month after that. He walked in the house and he looked down at that cat and he said, hey, Fluffy, which is the name of my old cat. So I have often thought Fluffy walked into that cat.
I'm not going to argue with that.
Is that feasible?
I don't see why not. I think we can't just decide things are this way or that way. I think there's all grades of things going on that we don't have a clue, and then we make up these like rules of what we can and cannot do so that we feel secure. But in reality, maybe it's no rules at all, or some rules, obviously, or we wouldn't be able to maintain cohesiveness here and do a job or whatever. But yeah.
Okay. Anything else you feel like you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
We're wrapping up, folks. I'm so grateful for every one of you that's emailed me and let me know that you're enjoying what we're doing. I don't know how long we're going to do it, but at this point it'll be Thursdays at 1 until we're not doing it. But I definitely appreciate your positive feedback. And
I want to say to Sandy, thank you so much for the email and your recommendation about the books by Michael Newton about who was able to take people in between lives. I'm definitely following up on that. And also somebody else suggested that The Dark would be really thought-provoking viewing. That's the Netflix series, and it's on my radar. I actually jumped out of Stranger Things. They lost me in the 3rd season. But I loved, it just got, we won't go into that, but it just got a little too silly. But I love that whole.
It did not get too silly.
I love the concept of that about the upside down. If you guys haven't watched that show, but that's what had riveted me, was the idea that there's this parallel world that is just a twisted, ugly, dark, and dangerous version of this one. And I think I told Angela, I said, I think maybe we're in the upside down right now.
Maybe sometimes we step in and step out like a dance. Is there anything else you want to ask us? I feel unfinished for some reason. Does anybody have anything they might want to ask before we go that would be appealing to everybody? Anybody? Anybody got anything at all? Some people say your third eye's right here. I know when I get tired, sometimes I have psychically tired, I have to do this. Do you know that doing this actually takes, the work I do takes a lot of energy? Sometimes I think I might hurt people's feelings when they want me to tell them stuff, and I always do if I can, because I would never withhold information, but sometimes I can't because I'm exhausted.
Oh,
I'm so tired. So anyway, I'm trying to tell you.
Susan, season 3, the best one yet?
Yes, Karen McClamrock, you were right.
All right,
Well,
I'll go back and see what I'm missing out on.
Well, and when it goes off, don't end it. Keep watching after the credits. It's really important.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm just saying that because I just want to make sure I don't hurt anybody's feelings if I don't answer everything personally at all times, because old Ann just getting older and I don't always have the energy to keep rolling along, and sometimes I do. Anything else, y'all? I guess that's probably us closing up then.
Okay.
And Lord willing, we'll see you back Thursday at 1. Wait a minute, somebody actually did ask something. Do you feel anything about the electronic communication for society this week? I don't even know exactly what that means, but do I think that electronics, I don't know what to say to that.
Maybe a little more clarification if you got a second.
If you're talking about the way electric stuff affects us, I'm sure that it does. If you're, oh Lord, Carolyn, that's a question. Honey, the only thing I know to do to that, sometimes you feel what you feel until you don't.
Carolyn just says, any thoughts on how we can
breaches.
move forward and help even in the midst of tragedy and feelings of hopelessness?
I think all you can do is sometimes you feel what you feel until you don't. You get help from a counselor that can help you sort out your feelings, and then you try to find that one bright spot out there in the future, that one little glimpse that says one day this will be behind you. You look at it like you're a ship in the water, and that lighthouse is your guide, and you try to look at that, whether that be your belief system, your imagine yourself in the future, your God, whatever it is that your lighthouse is, and you look at that lighthouse and you don't take your eyes off of it, because that's sometimes the only thing that's going to get you through them very stormy waters. And security breaches, I think that's left and right, and just be prepared. That's just the beginning. And yeah, I do think that they will use electric stuff, or we will use it against. It will be used against us, or we will use it against others. I have no doubt. I do think electricity does affect our human body. I do think all the electronics and technology do is so wonderful and helpful in so many ways. But like I said, you got a rise in one thing, you're probably going to get a rise in another. It's going to be in how you use it. And as long as we got people, there's going to be misuse. It's going to happen, because that's what people do. Look at the flipping planet. oh, we got a nice home here. Let's see if we can destroy it.
Did you know that some researchers have pinpointed the rise of cancer? You know, we've looked back and gone, you know, we didn't hear so much about cancer until this time. And they seem to have pinpointed it to the time that people started getting electricity in their homes.
I have no doubt that there's stuff in there, but I also tell you, and what I feel is the day they dropped the first nuclear bomb, we started poisoning everything. And I think that is the beginning of the end for us, just because of what we did. It's not, the way it feels to me is those explosions are not over. It's still like resonating somehow.
Well, and some of you guys probably read the same kind of stuff, that those bombs actually is what brought a lot of attention from aliens, extraterrestrials, to our planet, because that resonated and disrupted way beyond our planet.
You know, that's why I would not be a bit surprised if that's true, because, you know, in the Middle Ages, they couldn't understand that a germ, which you cannot see, could make a whole body or sick. How could that be, right? I think that's us. We think that these things are just local. It's just located to this one place. It's not going to affect everything. And now we know it could affect the whole planet. Now maybe it's so affecting the whole universe. It's like a domino. And then again, it could be totally wrong, but that's the way it seems to me. Focus on the balance. Focus on bringing up love and good vibrations through whatever means that is. Music, art, just joyfulness, playing silliness. I'll tell you, that's the way I think to go about it. And if somebody asks me, but we're talking about those fairies a minute ago, I had a story. Well, how long have we been on here? What time is it?
We've been on over 45 minutes.
I can't tell you because it's.
Let's do fairies next time.
Story. We'll do otherworldly beings next time. Yeah, and remind me, I have a story because I will probably forget with them that I have one.
And next time when I say you have a story, you're going to go, do I? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Write it down. Note under tree, Clinchfield.
Okay.
That should bring it back to my mind. Alrighty, next week we're going to be talking about otherworldly beings like fairy creatures and stuff like that. Not necessarily. Oh man, I got some stories right down there about them people that come to that that meeting of mine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got stories, people. We'll see you, Lord willing. The creek don't rise. We'll see you next week. Thank you again.